with word President Trump will let Majority Leader Mitch McConnell take the lead on passing a health care bill in the Senate. House Speaker Paul Ryan sounding optimistic about the action in the Senate, telling this to Fox and Friends this morning.
The legislation should not take that long. Hopefully it takes a month or two to get it through the Senate.
Oh, really? You think it'll happen by the fall?
Hopefully it takes a month or two, because we need to give people the ability to plan. The insurers are pulling out very, very quickly, and we need to show the insurers that there's a better system coming.
Joining us now, Josh Holmes, former chief of staff to Senator Mitch McConnell. He also helped coin the term repeal and replace. And Jim Kessler, former legislative and policy director to Senator Chuck Schumer and senior vice president for policy and a co-founder of the Third Way. It's great to have you both. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about, Josh, the way forward and the timeline as Speaker Ryan mapped out for our viewers. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, you know what? The one thing I'm absolutely sure of is that Senate Republicans aren't going to be sucked into an artificial timeline here. They're going to be laser focused on the policy itself. I mean, this is something that's so important to the American people. It's just vitally important that they get it right. And setting an artificial timeline that sort of jams everything together to try to get over the finish line isn't something they're particularly interested in. One thing that I think is really remarkable about this debate, though, if you consider the fact that Obamacare is literally imploding in front of us, the fact that the architects of Obamacare are sitting around admiring their handiwork and not helping out and trying to become a part of this debate, and Democrats have let Republicans alone try to handle this, I think is a really cynical political strategy and something the American people really can't appreciate.
That sounds like a dare, Jim. Do you want to respond to that? I think he's talking. I don't know. I think he might be talking to you.
Yes, I think he is.
What's your response to that?
Josh, I think that Chuck Schumer and Democrats will do as much to help Mitch McConnell as Mitch McConnell helped Democrats on the original Affordable Care Act. Look, here's the problem. So, first of all, Paul Ryan's timeline. Nobody in the Senate believes that is possible. The Senate, you know, they can't take out the garbage in 2 months, let alone pass a major overhaul of the health care bill. This is going on for months and months and months. I'm skeptical that they'll be able to get to the finish line because, frankly, Obamacare is more popular today than it ever has been by every objective poll going out there. And the Republican replacement bill it's about as popular as Kim Jong-un. So they got some problems going forward.
Okay, now that you're both so optimistic, let's talk about solutions perhaps. And I just want our viewers to know, there's a lot going on with the bill that the House passed. But as of right now, our health care is not impacted by that bill as of yet. And one thing that both sides seems to be agreeing on is that whatever comes out of the Senate will look different than what the House passed. You're both nodding. I feel like that's a victory for us. Here's the question, Jim, and actually, let me go to Josh first. What do you think healthcare will look like? You're both saying that the timeline is going to be further off, but we want to know what to expect. What do you think it's going to look like?
Well, one of the reasons why the American people are rightly skeptical anytime Washington talks about health care is because it was just a couple years ago where President Obama promised everybody that they'd have lower premiums and better access. And what happened during Obamacare is they have higher premiums and worse access. A third of the counties across the country only have one insurer available to them. So anytime there's a politician talking about health care, they're rightly a little skeptical about it. So I'm not surprised that people are wanting to get a good look at this.
Jim, let me just ask you about that because you're famous. You're the guy, repeal and replace, the term. You're the one that we say over and over again. I mean, you should have trademarked that thing. You really could have made some money. If that is the same accusation for Republicans, and you've seen this story play out, then what's their response to that about whether or not, the average American's health care is going to get better?
Well, I think that's the goal of this whole effort, right? And politics be darned. You've got a House Democratic Conference and sat there and applauded and sang about their political prospects while not participating at all in the creation of a new healthcare system that is hopefully going to address some of the problems that they couldn't. Now, I would like to hope that the Senate Democrats would have a different point of view, but it doesn't appear that they do.
Jim, what about that? You said, the Republicans didn't help us, we're not going to help them. But, just listening to that, it's like, all right, politics as usual. Where do you think Democrats can actually plug in and help here? If the priority is actually the American people and not politics?
Right. So this is what I think is going to happen. So first of all, parts of Obamacare is working very, very well. There's a lot more people who are insured that weren't insured before, and parts of it are not going well, and that is some people in some states on the individual exchanges. I believe what's going to happen is the Senate is not going to be able to pass a bill, and they certainly aren't going to be able to pass a bill that the House can pass, and effort of repeal and replace will collapse. When that is done, then there will be efforts to bipartisan efforts, and there are good ideas that Republicans have and good ideas that Democrats have to actually fix the exchanges, do the tinkering under the hood that needs to be done to make this work. And that will happen, maybe not this Congress, but the next Congress.
Do you think we need new people to do that, though, Jim? Do you think everybody needs to be voted out of office to get some new energy to actually achieve the goal that you're stating?
Well, I think I would rather be a Democrat in a red state supporting Obamacare now than a Republican in a purple state repealing it. But I think what's going to happen, you will see some ramifications in the midterms, and then people will come to their senses and do something. And
let me just say quickly that if you've got an entire insurance market that's collapsing, you're going to need a lot more than tinkering under the hood.
All right. Well, we'll see.
I don't agree.
We'll see what next term we come up with. Okay. So you got repeal and replace, Josh. Jim, your turn next time. I'm sure you've said a lot of famous things, and we'll make sure to highlight that. Look forward to having you both back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Much more on repealing and replacing Obamacare in the Senate ahead.